Welcome to Crooked River Groove. I'm Tommy Wiggins, Director of Recording Arts and Technology at Cuyahoga Community College in Cleveland. Hobo Monk is a melting pot of words and music. It's where funk and folk and blues and jazz and poetry and ideas come together and form a new language. This language is called Hobo Monk on Crooked River Groove.
Sweet lips of all forbidden fruits, these addictions I crave, finding in all ways to make loose these patterns I've made, given upon these gifts we're given. Minds are toys with hidden ploys, still comfortable while I'm tripping. Let me see what will be these ways that I made, these roles that I played onto our sorry end. shadows of the past. What solemn memories I hold in thy heart, green by life, thus decadent death of life. Death not real, but in one's heart, gravitated by one's soul, fate's hand still guides. Candles burning bare as times of old, raw truth holds none still. Bitter cold memories of old, left not for mourning as his past is dead. Thus a new life begins. Risen from thy grave once more, I have come to know thyself too well. To observe, to learn, is not there still a sweet surprise left to yearn? Ego's guide, a falsely driven male mind. Green becomes a best friend by woman's side. Purity left of what only little remains, the rest of which is dirt. These thoughts as candles when bare as times of old. More recent now, fear as thy heart grows cold. Free are we now, except from thyself and thy self-made prisons. Let not emotions rule, but let us live by thy guided mind and spirit in the soul. Dunking clouds and open holes in the sky. For ultraviolet strangers that come home and down the passage has been blocked for so many years. Old Rob Senior's on his truck right now, bumping his muffler love, as I, sitting on the bus, do the same. But it's not my foot that's pushing it out, it's my money that gives it life to move on down the line. In the road and making love to the curbs, spinning the air from its rear smoking gun. The destination maker's only mode of propulsion, expulsion in its dirtiest form of exception. You can take a bus, buy a bike, or you can walk. Young and firm, the island inferno beauty. Exotic compulsions for festive fans of romance. Taunting end to bend tonight. For the feel, for the real. At a moment's notice, a glance to crush agents. In a freeze, constant panic to bang that drum. Run that machine, crease those pants, crease that shirt. That crease is coming. Fermenting the empty and splintering doors by way of wisdom's hammer. Brought by worship and belief, or the mind can conjure in the wink of a weekend brain sleep. Coming and going and growing, too big for that prison to open my toys. That crease is coming, and I'll jump the valley of its being and wipe the sand from my eyes. And I land in the ditch of diffusion. Swing with a morphine jerk today. I'll peel the apple Adam hates and feed it warm on the end of my blade called truth. Yeah, so you call me in your glove. But can you throw back what's left of yourself once I leave that hand behind? And more to the next of many, to hold my words in worlds of many, too many. Coming to their destination they never knew existed. After the age of 12, the phone bill's got my name on it. But who do I call? Responsibilities have fallen upon us. America, babysitters of the world, are now we too young to to think ourselves so great. Here greatness is measured in dollars and greed. Our Achilles heel is born in our ego. We are the baby nation that watches you all. The foul wind that stirs the dirt blows from our littered shore. No war against the warriors with feet in the sand and guns in the air. Gods in their chairs point a finger and it burns. It burns with a word and a broadcast. It burns. Send over a child to kill a child. Send over a father to kill a son. Send over a bomb to be the butcher. Countries turn to fire and dust by the hands that built them and broke them. They burn to the ground with a sound, crash and rumble. They burn. The soldier's song is silent. The bush is burning, the fuel flies, the fire's exploding. These lands find no peace in their destruction. Close your eyes, put away these thoughts of death. Our forefathers would hang us for such acceptance of our nation. The atrocities we create, they now burn in our living rooms as darling TV fires in the satellite night. We're all vagrants and heroes. 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 So easily accepting the atrocities we create that now burn in our living rooms as darling TV fires in the satellite night. We're all vagrants and heroes. 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 We're all vagrants and heroes.
Words and Music is about songs, and it's about songwriters, people with stories to tell and the gift to make us believers. This week's guests are Robert Frazier and Adam Zagger from the poetry-fueled Hobo Monk. Words and Music. If we believe the poet, we'll believe the song. Swirling around the words of poet and frontman Robert Frazier, the band Hobo Monk mixes funk, rock, and blues into a new kind of musical stew, the sound of Hobo Monk. Rob and Adam, welcome to Words and Music.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Sammy.
I'm really fascinated by the name Hobo Monk. I mean, because you guys are a little bit jazzy. I mean, oh, gee, maybe that's where they got the monk part. And hobo is a traveler, and etc. Am I even close?
You're very close, I would say. I definitely have a lot of influence as far as the music go, and we're both very fond of traveling and wandering as pretty basic as we possibly can, and not doing it with the comforts of home. So that's kind of where it all came together.
Well, you guys, as normally you don't have a poet and a musician in the same band. How did that come to be? Adam?
Rob and I roomed together some years back, and basically I met Rob and knew that he was doing this poetry, and it was kind of along the beat lines and a lot of the stuff I was into. And basically this is when I was beginning to play guitar, but we just got together, and he'd read a poem and I'd catch the feel of it and kind of just write a basic outline of the music, and we basically did this on a 4-track, experimenting with a bunch of stuff. So
yeah, we'd sit on his floor in a little apartment and practice all day long, working on some of the songs. Some of the songs are new that we made with the new guys in the band, but I would say probably 80% of the stuff we do right now is things that we wrote back then, although they've grown immensely compared to what they were.
So this was back in the 90s, later 90s?
Later 98, 99.
And then you guys fell apart for quite a while, drifted away.
Yeah, we both moved, and I started working full-time, and he started traveling a lot, and then right after I'd quit my job to work on my writing and start working on the music, I'd been looking for him. He was the only person I knew.
Yeah, I was riding my bike. I was riding my bike down the avenue, and I hear someone honking at me. I'm like, who's this guy? And I look back, and it's Rob, and he's like, hey man. So we chatted.
That's exactly what I said.
You did?
Yeah, jumped out, and I said, I've been looking for you for 6 months. Where have you been? Let's start working on this again. And that's pretty much how it started. We brought in a bass player first, and then a drummer, and worked on from there.
What got you started in writing in the first place? I mean, how long have you been doing this?
Well, and I would say probably since I was 17, I had an experience where I had flatlined.
Really?
Yeah, and came back from that kind of looking at things a lot differently, and that's when I started writing a lot. And after I'd been doing it for a while, I felt like it was probably, I'd drawn for a long time before that, but writing was definitely something that I felt I was better at than any other kind of art form that I'd worked on at that point. So I stuck with it, and I got a book.
Wow. As far as the book, I know you do have a book. You're a published author, and you've got another one coming out. How did the book deal come about? Was that anything having to do with the music?
Well, the music definitely helped, because he and I had recorded some things in 2000 at the Cleveland Institute of Music. A guy who was running the music department there had heard some of the stuff that he and I had done on the 4-track and invited us to go there and play. So we played there for a couple nights and recorded a CD of some of the songs that we're playing now even, but it was just he and I doing it acoustic, kind of like what we're doing later on.
Are those still available?
Yeah, we still have some of those.
It was interesting because basically for the maybe 6 or 7 years we didn't really see each other. I was back in town and doing some sort of protest downtown, and he was at a bus stop waiting for the bus, and he's like, Adam. And I'm like, walking through. I think I was on stilts or something.
Yeah, he was.
Crazy. Yeah. Like, hey,
well, no wonder,
And he's like, hey, tomorrow I'm going in to, record this, and, and without any rehearsal for a few years,
2 years.
Went and did this recording, and basically I left again, and, we didn't see each other again. So it was kind of just like this little you know, connection
Randomly
and then back off.
Isn't that crazy how life and
Yeah.
art intersect?
Right place, right time, you know, when something's supposed to happen.
Wow. Well, Adam, what about your guitar playing? Because, you know, you're not a regular slash and burn guy. You know, on stage, you're working on parts. There's melodies. There's a lot of intricacy to what you're doing. It's like you're, you know, the only guitar player usually kind of is the rhythmic drive.
Yeah.
And you're basically more layer and reacting too.
Yeah.
Is that,
yeah, I
is that how
really
you
felt a lot with the creation of these songs. You know, definitely really paying attention and getting the feeling from what Rob's saying. And so a lot of these songs are really written around the words and are not necessarily always call and response, but more along those lines to where it's an interaction. And, you know, also just as far as my musical style, I mean, I'm the type of person that like will sit at home and put my, you know, my playlist on shuffle and play with everything that's on there. So I try to listen to whether it's electronic, you know, to classical, to anything. So
so you're actually accompanying and trying to find a place and a part for music, which
Yeah.
kind of then you know, works to be your style. Your
Yeah.
style. What about the other people in the band? Let's talk about them a little bit. How do they influence the whole collective of Hobo Monk?
It's done in a lot of ways. When we brought a bass player on, there were quite a few songs that we had that just really opened up, you know, from having that background sound to it.
And what's his name?
Mike Hoffman.
Very rhythmic guy.
Yeah, he's really, really good. He's got the fretless acoustic Washburns.
Right, and he can keep it in tune.
Very slinky, snake-like kind of sound to it.
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
Jay Stevens does the keys for us, and songs like New Year's Eve, and just about all of them, honestly. Like it filled in all those empty spaces that were left, you know, and it definitely made it something whole. I think once all of that was put together, and then Sam Phillips with the drums. Adam probably best to tell you about him.
yeah, Sam's actually my uncle. He started taking me to shows, vaudevilles and stuff when I was probably 7 or 8. Bought me my first bongos when I was really young, and he's been like a major influence musically, and also just as far as the kind of like Hobo Monk philosophy that
Sam's Hobo Monk.
Yeah, Sam
Oh, yes,
definitely, you know, pretty much lives and breathes it. But I mean, as we all do in our own way, for sure. But I think just all of us had actually put down music for a lot of years, or for a few years. And we had been working on other things, and this project had us pick back up our instruments, you know, and really inspired us to, you know, kind of purvey this message or this feeling that we're trying to capture here with the Hobo Monk.
Sometimes life is that way. You have to live some life before you can actually be able to create, you know, from the experiences themselves. How is your writing different as just a poet, and you know it's going to be in a book, versus what you're bringing to the band? Is there any difference?
I would say rhythm.
Rhythm?
You know, a lot of things that I do with the band, I'll try and throw in odd rhyme schemes. So if I'm writing something, I mean, there are a few things that we're working on that the music's actually been written first, you know, and I've had to go in there and try and figure out what I can do as far as poetry and singing and mixing it together. But with my standard...
And even topic?
Yeah.
You mean as far as
topic too,
topic too?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we'll discuss something. And so, I mean, that's probably more challenging than something I've already written to conform to doing. I mean, because just about anything I write, I could probably do to music, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to fit like the other songs do, you know. So
yeah, we kind of work back and forth. If we have a music and he'll go through some of his writings and work on something, and then we'll kind of create it, you know, and build it up.
we have very large band practices, so
Okay, so it's not just you two guys on the couch, but it's a
Everybody.
collective,
Yeah.
everybody.
now
together,
that everybody's in
including
the band, we try and everybody's a part of it now. So when we work on something, it's as a band. It's not just Adam and I.
Okay, what about New Year's Eve, the song that you're going to play right now? Well, how'd that come about?
I actually wrote that song the night that I'm talking about. So I had a really, really good New Year's Eve, a lot of fun, and ran into a lot of crazy people that night, and it was blisteringly cold. It was one of those nights that it was like 20 below zero out, and thank God I was drunk enough where I didn't feel the cold.
Thank God that you didn't pass out.
That's right, yeah. You couldn't pass out in that cold, trust me. And it's just about a fun night that just about everybody has on New Year's Eve, you know, at one point or another, and making it home okay and going to bed afterwards, you know. It's just a fun kind of bar song.
Okay, well, it's nice and warm here
yeah,
in the hang, so can you guys see if you can recreate New Year's Eve?
Absolutely.
Sure.
That night was madness. Start with a young girl drowning in her past deeds and thoughtless actions. She mustn't know I love you. Not yet, so far, so good. After a few drinks of livelihood and our own kind of herbal remedy,
Reminiscences went wild with stories. There sits a legend in his own mind, revealing glories. Long over mad at the new king, your followers are gone. I'm a little drunk and a little on edge. My journey begins in the bitter cold of winter-worn streets in the night of life. A numbness resides in alcohol cold, searching for the doorway to sanctuary with a stagger up the stairs. Highland scotch warms the soul. The doors propped open. Upon entry, a musty smell prevailed. The celebration is hidden down a long hallway where my intoxicated night grows stronger. Come into the house of mysteries. I'm glad you made it, says my wobbling host. My feet bring me forth to uncertainty. In a house full of who-are-yous, I take my seat and begin my opera form. They lay the evening's wonder on my tongue to awaken me. Hypnotized ears and eyes gather around for words of truth with shocking revelations revealed. These insights to group hysteria give me instant gratification, and I now know where life is. Observing this hog is difficult, but it is home to the zombie minds blowing snow. The only recognized faces see me off at the door. Those hours are lost even in memory. All conversations and questions that are remnants that go by too fast to catch. I stay awake to remember. With bad luck on the opposite side of me, I travel wholeheartedly forward to my fate in echoing breath. Then caught with my pants down, I was forced to say hello. Indulging in smoke, in awe over the pink heavens of the glowing sunrise. Time to fill my body and go to bed.
Over 700,000 people have begun their futures at Cuyahoga Community College.
It's easy to get started.
Really affordable.
And convenient.
It's a chance to explore.
I wasn't sure where I was headed.
I found my way along the way.
Discover a world of possibilities at Tri-C. All you need is ambition.
And your future's in your hands.
Don't let the next semester start without you. Tri-C, where futures begin.
How does a band that's unique as Hobo Monk make it in the music business these days? How are you guys trying to get the word out?
Well, trying to play venues that that already kind of bring in a crowd. If you know they've never heard of us or what have you, we make a lot of show posters. We've got a lot of talented artists, including Adam, that make some great posters for us that we get distributed. We have MySpace. We have all manners there. We have a really good following right now as well, so they kind of get the word out for us. You know, the last couple of shows we played, we didn't really tell anybody about, and yet there'd be 250 people there. So,
okay, so that's local. What any kind of dreams and designs of world domination, one market at a time?
Yeah. I think we're right now we're actually working on some things for this summer to try to do a tour, hopefully out west, and we have friends out there who we've actually brought into Cleveland and had good times and had
the Merry Pranksters, actually.
Yeah, these guys from Portland, yeah, or from out in Oregon, and so they're, we're basically just working with a few other artists who are kind of trying to do similar things and really do it primarily on a DIY basis, which is kind of a really cool thing about this age right now, is the opportunities for bands and artists to, really kind of get involved with, and kind of making things happen themselves and networking with each other and stuff.
Especially in a genre that's quite small, as obviously the more people that hear about it, even unexpectedly, they're going to dig it.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as being able to connect with somebody, say in Portland or some other city, you guys, made the effort to bring them here, and now they're going to make the effort to help bring you there.
Yeah.
Hooray for the internet.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of things that we like doing. Anytime we play with a band, we want to make sure it's somebody that we're going to, be compatible with in that sense, as far as the styles go. And not necessarily that anybody's going to be the same style as us, but just that it'll be the same kind of crowd, that the whole crowd will enjoy what all the bands are playing that day. And we.
If you were in a heavy metal band, it would be the same thing. You'd want another heavy metal band,
exactly.
Right?
Not that there are too many poetry rock bands to choose from, but there are a lot of great bands in town, that have really cool sounds that sound great when you put it all together.
What about the recordings? How do you have a new record in the works? Do you record frequently, or how's that going?
Yeah, we spent actually probably a lot of we've been playing now again for about 2 years. We spent a lot of the first year recording at pretty much every practice within our originally in a dining room and then into our studio, and we've also been recording with doing recording with Annie up here in Cleveland, and working on some live recordings as well. So
some of the stuff from what we do here, we may throw on the album, like maybe one of the songs, live at Crooked River Groove.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were really happy with the recording.
Yeah.
Right, we've had a lot of folks from Annie up, and it's a really a great creative place, and it's people from our area that are trying to make it in the recording studio business. I hear they're even starting a label.
Yep. There are a lot of people in Cleveland that are really hungry, for something.
Right. Well, let's kind of go through a band practice and get to a song that you guys are going to do called Crease. So kind of, you're getting ready to go to band practice. What happened, and how did Crease come about?
Well, as we were talking about earlier, when Adam and I bumped into each other the first time we got together, we sat down and I said, I got this poem that I wrote called Crease, and I read it for him, and it had a really crazy rhyme scheme and rhythm to it, and he's like, oh, cool, and he starts playing this music, and right away it fit. We recorded it that night, and I probably played it 20 times after that, listening to it, because I was just unbelievably shocked that, as usual, when he and I got together, almost right away it would connect.
Well, you guys are the mind meld. That's and you recognize the connection. There aren't. That doesn't happen very often, and it looks like you're relishing it and taking advantage of it.
Everybody in the band is very receptive to creativity, so as soon as we bring something to their attention, or Adam will even work on some things with them before I even get a chance to hear them, and it's just something that's expected at band practice, you know, to even if we have something down that we've played 100 times the same way, if we can make it better or change something up to make it even cooler, then we'll do that. We're not stuck in our ways.
What's Crease about lyrically? What's the idea?
Adolescence, growing into basically hitting puberty, discovering sex, growing up in that world, you know, and making the most of it as you're growing up, I guess.
Is it a relatively new song, or is it you looking back and kind of trying to...
It's a little bit of both. It's kind of, you know, how eager you are when you're young and how you know nothing, you know, and growing into it and respecting it for what it is as you get older, you know. It's about it all. I try to not generalize on one thing when I write. I try to make it as broad of a story as I can. So.
Okay, just as a general rule in terms of writing a song. Well then, okay, so Adam, you came up with a guitar part. You guys did it, just the two of you again, and then you brought it to the group?
We hadn't even met the rest of the guys. Like, we hadn't even brought in the other guys yet. That was the first song we wrote together.
Okay.
And then not 2 weeks later, we had everybody else in there pretty much.
Okay, and just because, so they were open, their antennae were open to creativity. Did it happen just like that? Or did you have to guide them into, well, here's the general vibe, and kind of lay out the picture?
Yeah, I know when I had originally come up with the with the basics for Crease, that I brought it to our bass player Mike, and we basically stayed up half the night just playing this groove, and we did put different effects on it, and you know, and then after that, you know, he didn't really know what we had in the works even. I was just like, hey, there's this groove, you know, let's do it.
Oh, okay.
And we even recorded it, and so it was just like,
but you guys
he
have
was very
together
receptive. He just,
before.
you know, right into it, and then, you know, as we kind of, the song has developed and is still like in development. I would say we play it different every time we play it, for sure.
That must have been crazy for him to have come up with a groove, and then all of a sudden Rob comes in and throws down the lyrics over it. It's like, whoa, okay. Well, hey, would you guys play it for us?
Sure.
As originally conceived, right? But played it totally different than before.
Young and firm, the island inferno beauty, exotic compulsions for festive femmes of lament, taunting end to end to bend tonight, for the feel, for the real. At a moment's notice, a glance to crush the engines, in a freeze, constant panic to bang that drum, run that machine, crease those pants, crease that shirt. That crease is coming, fermenting the empty and splintering doors by way of wisdom's hammer, brought by worship and belief. What the mind can conjure
in the wing of a weekend brain sleep, coming and going and growing, too big for that prison, too old for my toys. That crease is coming, and I'll jump the valley of its being and wipe the sand from my eyes. I land in the ditch of diffusion. swing with a morphine jerk today. I'll peel the apple Adam hates and feed it to him on the end of my blade called truth. Yeah, so you caught me in your glove. But can you throw back what's left of yourself once I leave that hand behind? And more to the next of many, to hold my words in worlds of many, too many, coming to their destination they never knew existed. After the age of 12, the phone bill's got my name on it. But who do I call?
Well, Rob and Adam, thanks for coming down and sharing your music and your words, and for having us get a chance to know what Hobo Monk is all about.
We appreciate you having us.
Yes, thanks, Tommy.
How do the people at home find out about Robert Frazier and Hobo Monk?
You can go to Poet Robert Frazier at myspace.com, or you can go to Cornerstone Book Publishers.
Okay.
And we also have Hobo Monk Productions at MySpace, or you can Google us, or just also on YouTube we have videos too. So
we're all over.
We're all over, just like we like it. Well, thanks a lot. I'm Tommy Wiggins, and you're watching Words and Music. We've been getting to know Robert Frazier and Adam Zagger from the very original Cleveland band Hobo Monk. Be sure to join us next time for another round of Words and Music.